I own a lot of smart home gadgets and I tend to only talk about the good ones in my videos because they're the ones that I use every day. They're great, reliable products, but it's not all good, definitely not, and I have purchased quite a few duds. So today I thought I'd share with you the top 4 worst smart home products that I have purchased. In at number 4 is Samsung SmartThings. This might be a bit of a controversial choice here because it's not actually a bad product, it's just frustratingly not as useful as it was when I first got it. It's a great all-in-one hub with Zigbee and Z-Wave functionality built in, and it's app controlled with support for a lot of devices, but a couple of years ago Samsung started to lock it down, and a lot of the functionality I used was provided by third-party smart apps. These were bits of code that you could import, and they provided things like MQTT support, an interface to my DSC alarm system, and most importantly something called WebCore. WebCore was amazing. It was a cloud-based scripting solution, well it still is a cloud-based scripting solution that lets you create automations with quite complex logic. It let you do far more than you could do with the built-in if this then that sort of automations, and it had a great user interface. My only real beef with it was that it was cloud-based and the automations wouldn't run locally. Samsung is trying to replace this with an official option called Rules API, but 18 months ago that wasn't ready to be used. Components I needed stopped working and I had to make a decision to jump ship to Home Assistant and rewrite all of my automations there. SmartThings now sits as a middle ground offering between a very basic Amazon Echo based home automation hub and something more advanced like Home Assistant or Habitat. Yeah, SmartThings is easy to set up, but it no longer really seems to have a place to sit in the whole ecosystem of smart homes. It's too advanced for most people's needs, and it's not advanced enough for enthusiasts. During the many COVID lockdowns, boredom did start to set in at times, and when I spotted a Wi-Fi connected robot vacuum cleaner on sale for under £50, then obviously it caught my attention. I went ahead and purchased the Lefant robot vacuum cleaner, and to be fair it isn't that bad for £50 as a gadget or even as a remote controlled toy. Its smart capabilities are managed through the Toya platform, so you can connect it to Home Assistant or Siri or Alexa if you want to, and this applies to pretty much all of the other generic cheap robot vacuums out there that all look identical to this one. It's absolutely useless as a vacuum cleaner. Firstly, it doesn't have much power to suck. It's feeble. It clearly picks up some things because if you leave it to clean a room for an hour, then the waste box will be full of little bits of fluff and crumbs and things, but your floor won't really look like it's being cleaned. To prove this, I dropped a load of salt on a rug, note salt, not sugar, and then manually drove the vacuum backwards and forwards over that salt. I had to do this manually because if I left it to it, it would go over that spot maybe 3 or 4 times total. Even with this extra attention to cleaning that spot, it still didn't get most of it. I then got the Dyson out and it took me less than a minute to clear it up with that. Because it's so cheap, it doesn't have any advanced mapping capabilities, so it basically wanders around randomly with no concept of where it is in relation to where it's already been. I think it's just got a couple of infrared sensors so as it can detect obstacles, and that's the other big problem with this, it doesn't know how tall it is. It's always getting jammed underneath the sofa and I have to go and rescue it. Once it even managed to drag one of the dog's toys with it and push it onto its charging base. I came into the room just to see the vacuum humping the toy and the charger in a very romantic way. I really wish I'd got that on camera. In second place are Ikea's smart blinds. I own 3 of these future roller blinds. They're Zigbee connected, battery powered devices and in theory should be really great. Some of the problems I have might be because I'm not using them with Ikea's own smart hub. I've got them connected to Home Assistant via Zigbee to MQTT through a Combi 2 stick. But let's start off with the good features of these blinds. They're really easy to install. You drill a few holes, attach some clips to the wall and the blinds just snap into place on those brackets. The blackout blinds are great at blocking out the light and I have them outside of the window frame so they cover the full window. And the rechargeable batteries last ages. With the blinds opening once in the morning and closing again in the evening every day, I didn't need to recharge the battery until almost a year later. But there's obviously a reason this gadget is in my top 2 worst smart home purchases. It's been called stupid many times. Very simple things like the blind material not reacting well with water. It buckles up, making it really unsuitable for use in damp environments like bathrooms. Not only does this look untidy, it also causes the blind to sometimes chew itself up in the roller mechanism. If you don't catch it in time, then it can get itself into a proper tangle and crease or rip the material. From a technical perspective, it's not that reliable either. A quick lesson on Zigbee for those who aren't familiar with it. It's a wireless mesh network that requires a hub, and any mains powered Zigbee devices on that network can also act as relays for other devices such as battery powered blinds. And this creates a network layout that looks like a mesh or a spider's web. When devices on that network are removed, then the mesh should reconverge and the devices should try and take a different route through the mesh. But these blinds don't seem to do that. I discovered this problem when we had a series of power cuts. Some mains powered Zigbee smart switches were knocked offline. The blinds refused to work again until I repaired them with my Zigbee hub, and that involves having to reset their stop position too. It's a real hassle. On a fairly regular basis too, they just randomly don't work properly. One of my blinds will start to open in the morning, move about 4 centimeters and stop. No idea why. If I press the button to open it again, it works fine, and it does this at least once a week. It's the same automation that opens the other blinds in the same room at the same time, and that works fine. It's a really odd problem. And the last thing is firmware updates. I know that there are firmware updates available, but no matter how many times I try, they all refuse to update. I guess I shouldn't moan about this one because I'm not using the official Ikea hub. Maybe that would fix the problem. So overall, these blinds are pretty annoying, despite also being quite cool when they do work. And the award for the worst smart home gadget I've ever purchased goes to the Danaloc version 3 smart lock. This really is an awful product on so many levels. I purchased the Brisant Secure Ultion smart lock, and the smart component of that was the Danaloc. So Brisant supply the physical handles and barrel lock, whereas Danaloc provide the smart components. And I have to say that the physical Ultion lock itself and the handles are excellent. I can't fault them. So I'm not including Brisant in this worst gadget award at all. I'm singling out just Danaloc and their component, and Brisant clearly know that Danaloc is a bit of a dud because they've released a new version that uses the Nuki smart lock instead. Right, let's go through why this bit of kit is so deserving of first place. It is totally unreliable. You need to calibrate the lock so as it knows where the locked and unlocked positions are, and that tells it how much it needs to rotate in order to lock or unlock the door. Problem is, it seems to forget those calibration positions after a random amount of time. You don't find out until you come home, unlock your door, and it hasn't unlocked. You're basically locked out until you use the key, and if you always have to carry your key with you as a backup, then what's the point in having a smart lock? More worryingly, you cannot trust that it has actually locked the door behind you, because it might not have turned enough to lock. You can leave your home after hearing the motor turn, thinking it's all locked up, but it isn't. Basically, I just treat this lock now like a big manual dumb thumb turn. The one I'm using right now is a Z-Wave lock, but that is a replacement for a Zigbee one I've tried before, and I've tried 2 different Zigbee Danalocs. They've never managed to fix this with a firmware update, and they do release firmware updates every now and then. I've no idea what those updates include because I can't find any change logs for it at all. What else? Well, it's really expensive to run. It uses 4 CR123 batteries, and the last time I purchased some, they cost £2 each. The batteries in reality last about 6 months, so that's £16 a year in batteries. And it's not just the hardware that sucks big time. The Danaloc app looks like a website from 1998. Fair enough, it's to control a lock, so it doesn't need to be pretty, so I wouldn't mind that if it wasn't such a pain in the whatsits. Every single time I go to use it, it tells me my log on has expired and makes me log back out and back in again. If all you want to do is quickly unlock your front door, then having to re-authenticate every day gets very irritating. Look, I've had this lock for well over 2 years now, so I'm pretty familiar with just how pointless it is due to its unreliability. Brisant, to be fair to them, did offer to take it all back and give me a full refund. But the problem is, I really like their actual physical lock and handles, and I'd got other same keyed locks from them, so I decided to just cut my losses on this one and keep what I had as a manual lock only. But I'm not the only one who's got this same lock and has had no end of issues with it. Diara, who you may remember from my solar panel battle videos, also has the same lock. Diara, what do you think of the Danaloc?
If you want a lock that usually works, sometimes loses calibration, and eats through batteries faster than Jabba the Hutt does Tatooine paddy frogs, then yeah, it's great.
So, Danaloc version 3, you are the grand winner of the Smart Home Turdy Award. Congratulations! See, I've even reused the same trophy from those videos too. Getting good value out of this. Anyway, I hope this helps you in some way to not fall into the same dud gadget traps I did. If you found this video useful, then please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more videos from me. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.